Once there was a farmer's son from Blaen Saugir who was grazing his sheep up by Lyn van Vach in the hills of Carmarthenshire Hills, when he saw a beautiful young woman sitting on the surface of the water. Although she was obviously of the fairies, he fell head over heels in love with her and eventually persuaded her to marry him. She came with an impressive dowry, a giant herd of the finest cattle, but there was one condition. Should she receive just 3 unwarranted blows or hits from her new husband, their marriage would be over. He agreed to this immediately, and they lived very happily together on a farm called Escar Leifty near Mudvai. She bore him 3 sons, but one day, when they were invited to attend a christening at a nearby church, the wife complained that it was too far for her to walk. "Well, we'll go saddle the horse then," hitting her playfully on the arm, and that was the first unwarranted blow. Another time, they had both gone to a wedding when the fairy wife began to cry. Several people turned to stare in astonishment at her and her husband. Her husband dug her in her ribs with his elbow and said harshly, "Why are you crying? We are at a wedding." The fairy wife said, "I am crying because I can see how much grief lies ahead of these newlyweds." And so that was the second unwarranted blow from her husband. And then one day the two of them were at a funeral, and she began to laugh joyfully. Her husband tried to quiet her with another dig of the elbow in her ribs, hard. "Why are you laughing? Show a bit of respect, woman," he yelled. The fairy wife said, "But I was happy because the deceased has left all his mortal troubles behind him. And now I am afraid I must leave all of you behind me now, because that was the third unwarranted blow from you. So our marriage is over." She started to walk back towards the lake that her husband first found her at, calling her cattle to follow her back into the waters too. Lastly, she called her oxen, and they went straight into the lake, drawing the plow after them, leaving a long trail cut in the mountain by the lake, which is still visible to this day. The lady of that lake reappeared to her sons a few times after that, in order to teach them how to cure all kinds of afflictions and illnesses. And that's how the famous doctors of Mudvai got their strange powers and helped heal others in Wales. I particularly liked this one because it showed how sensitive fairies can be, but not only sensitive, but in their ability to see things differently than other humans. And so if humans want to be with fairies, they simply have to open their perspective and see things through a wider lens. Just as the fairy wife was able to see death in a different way than her husband, or those who are getting married in a different way than her husband, this requires a little bit of imagination and an open-mindedness that I believe that the fairies represent. And so I really liked this tale because it helps those that feel and see and perceive things differently than others to understand that they are not wrong in their perceptions. They are not wrong in the way that they are seeing reality. It is theirs. It is their truth, and they should hold on to it. And those that abuse you, or those that do not understand you and do not seem to appreciate your other perspective, well then, it may be time to leave. And you can make that choice when it comes to you. But this is about your happiness, just as it was about the fairies' happiness. And so she returned back to the land where she came from. She still saw her sons. She still was part of their lives, and she still offered her gifts and what she could, but she could no longer live with that human who was just not ready to open up his mind and see things in a different way, and also respect her and her boundaries and her wishes. So this is also a lesson for humans too, to step up and to not allow others to take advantage of them, and to know when they are truly in a safe environment and really loved by those that understand them. This fairy tale gives strength. It gives solace and understanding to those that may perceive things differently than others. And so I wanted to share this with you today. May it be a light in your own life and allow you to feel not so alone in the world. You are always supported by those higher energies unseen.